Good evening, everyone. We'll call this meeting, we'll call this meeting to order here in a second for the North College Hill City Council meeting Monday night, August 2nd. We will start, as we always do, with our prayer for the NCH City Council. God our Father, we are all your servants. We trust in your mercy and love. We trust also in your guidance. Direct the meetings of this council of North College Hill to make good decisions for all the people who live in our city. Give all the members of this council wisdom and insight to know what is best for our city. Help us to be fair and just in all our decisions. Bless us all to do the very best we can with your help and guidance. We pray this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Now call this meeting to order. Please direct your attention to the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you, everyone. Welcome. Ms. DeWald, please call the roll.
Ms. Dukes-Dean?
Here.
Ms. Blythe?
Here.
Ms. Underwood?
Here.
Mr. Miller-Novak? Ms. Zorb? Ms. Hartman? Ms. Anderson?
Here.
All right, I have received notifications from Mr. Miller-Novak, Ms. Zorb, and Ms. Hartman in advance that they would not be here tonight.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
I move that we excuse Mr. Miller-Novak, Ms. Zorb, and Ms. Hartman this evening.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson?
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion from Ms. Underwood, second from Ms. Anderson to excuse Mr. Miller-Novak, Ms. Zorb, and Ms. Hartman. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Ms. Dukes-Dean?
Yes.
Ms. Blythe?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes.
And Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Motion to excuse all three passes 4-0.
Thank you very much. You have tonight's agenda in front of you.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson?
I move to adopt the agenda for August 2nd, 2021.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
I actually would like to make a motion to amend the agenda
Okay.
before we adopt it. I would like to add somewhere in the agenda, perhaps during the mayor's report, either before or after an executive session, to discuss the resignation of a public employee.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson?
if that was a motion, I'll second that and withdraw my original motion.
Thank you. Let me get caught up. All right, have a motion for Ms. Underwood, second by Ms. Anderson, to amend tonight's agenda by adding an executive session in with the mayor's report. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Ms. Dukes-Dean?
Yes.
Ms. Blythe?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes.
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Motion to go into executive session during the mayor's report passes 4-0.
Okay, now we need to adopt the agenda, unless there are any other changes.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson?
I move to adopt the amended agenda for August 2nd, 2021.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
I'll second that motion.
Motion by Ms. Anderson, second by Ms. Underwood to adopt the amended agenda for tonight's meeting, August 2nd, 2021. Discussion? Please call the roll.
Ms. Dukes-Dean?
Yes.
Ms. Blythe?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes.
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Motion to adopt passes 4-0.
Thank you.
My agenda, girl, I was just looking at it. Oh, here it is. Okay.
All right, we have council meeting minutes from our regular meeting on 7/6 and special meetings on 7/14 and 2 on 7/15, one at 6:30, one at 7:30.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson?
I move to adopt the meeting minutes from the meetings. Do you need me to say the dates?
From meetings on 7/6,
7/14,
7/14,
7/15.
and 2 on 7/15.
Yes.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
I'll second that motion.
All right, motion for Ms. Anderson, second by Ms. Underwood to adopt the meeting minutes from regular meeting on 7/6, special meeting on 7/14, special meeting on 7/15 at 6:30, and special meeting on 7/15 at 7:30. Discussion? Please call the roll.
Ms. Dukestein?
Yes.
Ms. Blythe?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes.
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Motion to accept all minutes passes 4-0.
Thank you very much. Ms. DeWald, we're up to communication.
Communication this month, we have the May, June City and Villages magazine. We have a liquor license for 1605 Galbraith Avenue, doing business as Quick Stop, and the Walter Drain notice came in.
Thank you. Any questions for the clerk? All right, we'll move on to committee reports, and the first one up is City Community Development and Recreation.
Thank you, Mr. President. All right, so our last meeting was July 12th. The only thing that we really got to discuss were the two proposed comprehensive plans, one of them from Community Planning Insight and one of them from Urban Fast Forward. The representative from Urban Fast Forward is here tonight, very kindly to answer questions if we have any. They both gave really great presentations, pretty much breaking down the comprehensive plans that they've put forward and what they do in partnership with North College Hill for that comprehensive plan. Something I really want to note of importance from that is that Urban Fast Forward has a deadline acceptance date of, correct me if I'm wrong, 90 days past the submission date. Is that correct?
It is, but I advise Mr. Mosby that that is not meant to cause problems for the council, so if it's
Gotcha.
a matter of a small amount of time, then certainly we want to be accommodating.
Okay, so then that is not as stressful as it once was thought as. But either way, I think council has come to realize very intelligently how important this comprehensive plan is, so that people can have more time to consider the comprehensive plans. We went ahead and put the legislation on the agenda for both of them, so that way people can get to look at them and then decide which one we want to do at a later date after a couple readings. So that was about all of the meeting. Our next meeting is going to be next Monday, August 9th at 6:30 here in council chambers.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Next up is Budget and Finance. Our committee chair is not here. Does anyone have a report?
The co-chair is not here either.
Oh, that's right. Okay. And I'm sorry, backing up, did you give your date for your next meeting?
Yes,
Yeah,
she
it's
did.
Did I totally blank out and miss that?
August 9th
Sorry.
at 6:30. I can give you a quick rundown of what happened at the last budget meeting. I mean, won't be very detailed, but
Yeah, go ahead.
we planned other meetings. And that was about it. Whatever some legislation that needed to be put up, nothing too exciting was done. Miss Hall gave us the monthly report, the monthly budget report, and that was about it. But the next meeting is going to be August 9th at 7:30.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Next up, Rules and Public Policy.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our last meeting was July 26th at 6:30 PM. We mainly talked in great detail about the council rules and what changes that we could make to the council rules. And we also mentioned the fact that all 7 council members are a member of my committee. So it's not necessary to actually have a meeting, a committee of the whole meeting. We could discuss the council rules and then bring the changes back to the council floor once we've discussed those. We haven't gone through the entire set of rules yet, but we will, and we'll bring those back to the council floor. That was pretty much what we discussed. Our next meeting will be August 23rd at 6:30 PM.
Thank you, Ms. Underwood. You prepared to discuss the public safety meeting?
Yes, yes, I was about to say, Your Honor. Mr. President, so at our public safety meeting, we had a presentation from Chief Strand of the North College Hill Police Department. It was informative. That's what I'll call it. So we still have some questions about that, and we plan to follow up with the city administrator and Chief Strand with regard to those questions, and his presentation took the entirety of the meeting. Our next meeting will be August 23rd at 7:30 PM.
Thank you, Ms. Underwood. All right, anyone have any ad hoc committee reports?
The CIC met, I believe, and we talked about a representative from the Clover Nook Center for the Blind was actually at the meeting, and he indicated that they really they're considering partnering with the city of North College Hill because they own quite a bit of land around here. So they're, kind of wanting to talk to the city of North College Hill about some development opportunities and that kind of thing. So it was just a very kind of a broad overview. He really talked about kind of their board and what they do and what's been going on during the pandemic. So that was most of what that meeting was about. There was also a report about what properties are available in the city of North College Hill. And we always talk about, what we can do, what the CIC can do to, promote more home ownership in North College Hill. And we mentioned that we think that the comprehensive plan and kind of making an agreement and kind of going into that will probably serve to help us reach that goal. And that was pretty much what that meeting was about. Can't tell you the date of the next meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Underwood. Any other ad hoc reports?
One more. I can't remember what the committee is called. We haven't met, but we have the members of the committee, I'm going to call it the Positivity Committee. I can't remember the name of the committee right now.
Progress Committee.
Yes.
You need to change
So
that
we've
name.
been taking turns opening the track. And we've noticed, I've noticed that there are people who have actually been taking advantage of that and going and walking around the track. So I just want to remind everyone that the track is open every day from, 6 o'clock to 8:30? So, we would encourage anyone who wants to go just walking locally, that the track is open, and you're more than welcome to go and use it.
Mr. President.
Ms. DeWald?
Ms. Underwood, you're saying 6 to 8:30 a.m.? You don't mean
No.
6?
PM, 6 PM to 8:30 PM.
Okay.
And, usually there's probably a couple of minutes before and a couple of minutes after,
Give or take.
We're not gonna drag anybody off the track or anything, but that's about the time
Okay.
that we close it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Underwood. Any other reports?
No, thank you, Mr. President.
Anyone else? All right, we will move into the administrative reports. Good evening, Madam Mayor. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. I had a few things, but I would like to just use my time to utilize that executive session. Some of the things I had on my list is just a little housekeeping from some committees that hasn't met to see if we can get those committees together. But I
Mr.
can wait
President,
for
I'm
those.
sorry. Mr. President, is that Mr. Shad in the back? I should keep my glasses on. I'm nearsighted, so Mr. Shad is the person that I had referenced before, with the Clover Nook Sitter for the
Oh,
Blind. So
okay.
I'm hoping if anybody has a question that he would be willing to answer that, because that was a very kind of broad overview. So, Mr. President,
Yes, Ms. Underwood.
I would like to move that we go into executive session or pursuant to ORC 121.22G1 to discuss the resignation of a public employee.
What was the, can you quote the ORC for me again?
Yes, 121.22G1.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I'm sorry, and Ms. Underwood. Mrs. DeWald just brought to my attention that we have a guest who's speaking.
I was here to address the resolutions.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Was that here, speaker?
Oh, sorry, Mr. President.
No.
Yes, ma'am.
You leave.
I'll second the motion.
We stay,
Yes.
yeah. I was scooting in so they could get by, but I realized there's still no more room back there.
Motion for Ms. Underwood. Second by Ms. Anderson. To go into an executive session pursuant to ORC 121.22G1 to consider the resignation of a public employee. Discussion? Please call the roll.
Let me get my paperwork out. Miss Dukestein?
Yes.
Miss Blythe?
Yes.
Miss Underwood?
Yes.
Miss Anderson?
Yes.
Motion to go into executive session passes 4-0.
Okay, we're going into executive session.
You have to make a motion.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna do. Are we back to live, you said?
Yes.
Sorry. Mr. President, I motion to end the executive session and return to the council meeting.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
I'll second that motion.
All right, motion for Ms. Anderson, second by Ms. Underwood to end the executive session and resume the council meeting discussion. Ms. DeWalt, please call the roll.
Ms. Dukestein?
Yes.
Ms. Blythe?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes.
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0 to resume.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, is that the end of your report?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. All right, next up is the city administrator's report. Mr. Mosby.
Thank you, Mr. President. This will be my report for August 2021. Good evening, Mayor, President, members of council. It is the beginning of August. Meaning it's time for students to return to school. North College Hill schools will be opening again soon. And summer, of course, is nearing its end. I'd like to begin with our drive-in movie night, actually. On July 14th, the city partnered with LifeSpring Christian Church to conduct a drive-in movie night. We'd like to thank LifeSpring Church and our local chapter of the Disabled American Veterans for providing hot dogs and hamburgers for the event. The weather was outstanding, and those that attended had a wonderful time. I met with LifeSpring to express our appreciation and to begin plans for a future movie night. And we're also both looking forward to future partnerships, including an upcoming program in September for Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, which leads to my next topic. September is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. And for this year, we are planning to conduct one event. Some of you may know that in 2019, we planned several events, but we have narrowed that down or reduced it to one major event. And we will partner with both LifeSpring Christian Church and NAMI of Southwest Ohio. Last year, Mayor Nichols, through proclamation, declared September to be Suicide Prevention Awareness Month in North College Hill. I also want to remind the members of council the discussions for both full-time and part-time police collective bargaining agreements will begin soon. The contracts expire at the end of the year, December 31st. If members of council are interested in participating in these discussions, please let me know. I'll make sure to forward the information to you, of course, Mr. President, prior to the meetings. As far as roads and streets, I know that everybody's seen that we've been pretty busy. We are very excited because we are awaiting the final course of asphalt to be laid on both Goodman and Galbraith Road, which means that that project should be complete by the end of this week. We are still early into our project on Sundale Avenue. However, the contractor is making steady progress, but that project is expected to last through 2022. And of course, you all also, I'll remind council that in 2022, we will begin several projects, one on Bobolink, but the major one that we will see is the Hamilton Avenue project, which we will be doing in partnership with the city of Mount Healthy. Additionally, when we apply for our SCIP funding in 2022, we will include Prospect Place as part of our application. So, Ms. Underwood, I know you'll be happy about that. Also, I need to also make the mayor and members of council aware that we are purchasing portable speed bumps. So we should be able to have those, I'm hoping, by the next regularly scheduled meeting of city council. I do think for our fire department, I do think it's important also to remind our residents that we do have a fire levy on the ballot in November. It is a proposed 12 mil levy, which would replace our current 3.2 mil levy, and it would provide the resources to hire 6 additional full-time firefighters. Also, as Ms. Anderson stated, tonight you have before you 2 resolutions to consider for the consultant to assist with our comprehensive plan. Since there was not a recommendation that came forth from the committee, a resolution has been prepared for each consultant. So council will need to vote to adopt only one, and then, of course, the other would fail. Finally, our police department, we have experienced another retirement. Lieutenant Moss has retired, actually effective today. He has, however, agreed to return in September, for the September meeting, excuse me, so that we may recognize his years of service for our community. So we will be recognizing him at that particular time. The department also, I would like to say, has been diligent in interviewing candidates to fill as many of the vacancies as possible. You all had already seen two of the new candidates, or two of the new police officers. And he's looking to fill the two other vacancies. So we are definitely moving to make sure that we beef up our police force. Finally, the CIC. I know the CIC was brought up earlier, but they will be holding their next monthly meeting on Thursday, August the 19th at 6:30. This is important, and I'm announcing it here because it will be held not in this room, but it will be held in the parking lot of Kim's Beauty Supply, which is 1829 Galbraith Road. And so the reason for this is because we want to begin to get out into the CIC, to get out into the community, to help make people aware of the CIC, what the CIC does, its role in the city, and also encourage people to participate and support. And that is it, Mr. President.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson?
just to kind of add to what Mr. Mosby said, the reason that the Recreation Committee did not come forward with a recommendation for either of the comprehensive plans was because this is such a big, important project that we wanted each member to be able to read it and kind of have a say on which one they are leaning towards. And we also wanted to give an ample amount of time for people to read and understand the comprehensive plans, while also being respectful to the two organizations that have presented the comprehensive plans. So I just want to give a little insight of why we didn't make a recommendation, so that way people understood. We're not slacking, we promise. We're just trying to make it easier for everybody.
I appreciate that. I was only actually just explaining that so people, as you pointed out, in the public would be able to understand why there are two, and that both of them cannot be selected. That was really, one of them has to be approved and the other has to be rejected.
Mr. Mosby, can you repeat the address for the next CIC meeting, please?
Sure, it's 1829 West Galbraith Road.
Thank you. Any other questions for the city administrator?
Mr. President.
Ms. Anderson?
I'll send you an email to remind you, but I'd love to be in the discussions for the police bargaining unit. Thank you. But I'll send you an email to remind you.
Yes, I appreciate that. Last time that we did this, I believe the council, Mr. Graver.
Actually made appointments?
Correct.
Perfect.
So I think that would probably be the most appropriate thing to
Okay.
do.
Mr. President,
Ms. Blythe?
I want to ask Mr. Mosby, what is the date of the expiration on the police levy?
Oh, the police levy expires okay. There are two dates. It technically expires next year, 2022.
Like December 31st?
There is a year, right. So in other words, what happens is it begins to accrue the year that it's usually voted for. The following year is the year that the money is dispersed to the city. And so it's accrual, the last year of accrual is next year. So if we want to continue it, we would need to have a vote next year. And that is what we're planning on doing. I think I brought this up in a prior meeting.
And then what would be if we approve it, what would be the future November to vote on it? Or would it be like a special voting session?
No, it typically would be every 5 years.
So
Right now, all of our levies are 5-year levies.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be 5 years. So if 2022 would be the year that they vote on it, then
Oh, okay.
it would be another 5 years, and then they would have another election.
So November 2022.
Correct.
Okay. But then we have to approve it and then also decide on what the increase would be for them, what we need to, the monies.
Yes, I
For
do
the
understand
levy.
what you're
Okay,
saying, right.
yeah.
Council would need to vote on it, approve it, for it to be placed on the ballot at the next general election.
Okay, great, thank you. Mhm.
Any other questions?
Mr. President,
Ms. Dukestein?
can you repeat the date for CIC, the next one?
Sure. It is Thursday, August the 19th.
I might need bug spray.
6:30.
6:30 to 8 p.m. And I do want to thank Kim's Beauty Supply, I know, for allowing the CIC to be able to have that meeting there.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mosby. Next on the agenda is the Law Director's report. He is not with us this evening. Next on the agenda is the Finance Director's report. Ms. Hall is not with us this evening, so that will take us to call of members. Ms. Dukestein,
Yes.
do you have anything to speak on?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Ms. Blythe?
No comments, only questions, thank you.
Ms. Underwood?
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to say that, thank you to Mr. Mosby for, getting our chairs and getting them put together. It's way more comfortable. And I would also like to say thank you to Mr. Mosby that it's comfortable in this room today, and I didn't have to walk out in a tantrum, in a huff, because it was just unbearably hot. So thank you very much for that. And I think that's all I have. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Ms. Anderson?
I think for once in my life, I don't have anything to say, but thank you.
All right, that brings us up to remarks from the audience, and we have someone signed in to speak. Yes, please. And please state your name and your address for the record.
Poke me. Good evening. My name is Matthew Shad. I'm representing Clover Nook Center, and that is at 7,000 Hamilton Avenue. Dear Mayor, the comments that I'm presenting have been passed out to all of you and are provided to the clerk as well for the record. Dear Mayor Nichols and North College Hill City Council members, my name is Matthew Shad, and I have been asked to speak as a representative of the Board of Directors of the Clover Nook Center for the Blind and Visually Impaired. My remarks today are representative of my many years living in the Cincinnati area, my decades of professional experience as an economic developer, urban planner, small business developer, attorney, and real estate professional for numerous communities in the Cincinnati, Dayton, and Columbus metropolitan areas, and for my past 4 years serving the Clover Nooks Land and Facilities Committee Chair. The North College Hill community is at a point of inflection. In a competitive regional market where citizens have many choices of where and how to live, and businesses and development have many choices of where and how to make a reasonable return on investment, it is important for communities to provide a clear and unified sense of their values, ambitions, and distinguishing characteristics, and to convey those features prominently in the region. Without such clarity of self and sufficient direction, North College Hill's value proposition may be viewed as indistinguishable and from other comparable communities, potentially to its detriment. Comprehensive plans are a critical tool to unifying those community values and ambitions, and to identify, enhance, and even create the distinguishing characteristics necessary to ensure the long-term economic vitality and quality of life of the community. Comprehensive plan design is critical to success. Effective plans typically are guided by professionals with regional, market, and economic development knowledge and experience who can engage and activate existing and future stakeholders, and more importantly, whose final products focus significantly on realistic, incremental, and detailed tactics and implementation strategies. The comprehensive plan should provide a roadmap for the City Council and its administration to make effective and forward-thinking policy and regulatory changes, and should begin to set up solutions with partners. Too often, comprehensive plans devote significant resources on documenting the past and present and not charting a definitive course for the future. As City Council, be thoughtful of this as you deliberate on whom to partner with for your comprehensive plan implementation. Clover Nook, like the community, is also at a point of inflection. We are a nonprofit social enterprise providing medical, employment, educational, and recreational services to blind and visually impaired people regionally and nationally. And at 118 years, probably North College Hill's oldest and most significant community contributor. Our partners include Children's Hospital, the Internal Revenue Service, the Library of Congress, Cradle Cincinnati, and numerous business partners. It is critically important that the community surrounding our campus remain vibrant and in an environment which our organization can continue to offer and potentially expand our invaluable services for many years to come. We are a partner in this community's future, and we are committed to actively engaging in it as a stakeholder to our mutual benefit. The Clover Nook Board of Directors enthusiastically endorses City Council's efforts to implement a new comprehensive plan, and we actively look forward to engaging in the plan creation and the implementation in the months to come. And that is signed by myself, the President and CEO, Christopher Faust, and Michael Ernsberger, our Chairman of the Board of Directors. Thank you.
Thank you.
If there are no questions, I'm sorry.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson?
I don't have a question, but I wanted to thank you so much for coming and for endorsing our efforts into implementing the comprehensive plan, because I agree, it's extremely important. And I'm glad that you're coming to kind of back up what I and other people have been saying as to just how important this is. This is a hill I'm going to die on. We will get a comprehensive plan. And so I'm really glad that you've come and, like you said, I mean, your organization, Clover Nook, is an extremely vital part of North College Hill. And I think for you to come and say that you're backing our decision and implementing a comprehensive plan is phenomenal. So thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate what you said. Thank you.
No problem.
Mr. President,
Mr. Mosby?
I'd just like to add that Mr. Shad was present at the last CIC meeting. And I can say, and this is no exaggeration, but he literally ignited that meeting. Like, he poured gasoline on it, and it exploded. And it was a very positive explosion, by the way.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah.
The building's still here.
No, yeah. But I too actually very much appreciate the words of Clover Nook and Mr. Shad's role as spokesperson in expressing his sentiments. And I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew that.
Yeah.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
just to pile it on there, Mr. Shad, I would like to say thank you very much for coming to our meeting. I know coming to a meeting at 7 o'clock on a Monday evening, it's not, and then sitting and waiting for us to get out of executive session is not a fun thing to do, but I really, appreciate you coming and just kind of addressing council with that information. I think it's really important. And I was present at the CIC meeting where you spoke, so, and I agree that it was really exciting to hear. So I'm really looking forward to what we can do to make our city better and progress forward.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, I forgot, since you're running around with dates and calendars, on Thursday, September 30th, between 5 and 8 p.m., Clover Nook will be having a Discover Clover Nook Clover Nook event on the lawn by the Carey House, where we will be showcasing some of the things that Mr. Mosby talked about changes in our social enterprise, how we're still growing and changing, and giving people a sense of where our organization is heading to in the near future. So Thursday, September 30th, 5 to 8 p.m. at the Carey Cottage.
Thank you, Mr. That's Important to know. We'll make sure
And
to put that out.
I imagine Mary over there will be writing you all very probably calligraphied invitations. As only Mary would do.
Mr. Shad, thank you for the comments on behalf of Clover Nook. We do appreciate that you showed patience and waited for us, and thank you for being here tonight.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that brings us to legislation. Ms. DeWald, when you are ready.
We have a first reading on Resolution 2021, a resolution to certify assessments to the county auditor for placement on the tax duplicate, and this one is in regards to vacant foreclosed properties and failure to register. We have a first reading on Resolution 21. Oh, I've got that date on there wrong. I'll make that correction. Resolution 21, 2021, a resolution to certify assessments to the county auditor for placement on the tax duplicate, and this one is regards to tall grass and trash removal. We have a first reading on Resolution 23, 2021, a resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Urban Fast Forward for the purpose of facilitating and accomplishing an update to the City of North College Hills Comprehensive Land Use Plan.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson.
as a representative from Urban Fast Forward is here, I just wanted to pause in case anybody had questions or if she wanted to say anything. If nobody has questions, sorry, we can move on. I just wanted to make sure that we recognize that.
Yes, and we do appreciate you coming tonight in the event that there are any questions.
I think what I would say is, what I shared with Mr. Mosby earlier and in an email and then said tonight, first of all, we are happy to work with the council on time and within reason. Second, no pricing is final until the job is final. Came up with at the meeting at which we were present before that the other firm presenting was fractionally lower in price than we. We look forward to working with the council to ensure that we find a price and a project description that meets your needs. The third thing that I wanted to say is that I sensed perhaps amongst the counselors, some of the counselors, a sense that perhaps we were too local or that we had worked in too many Cincinnati communities and that therefore we might have a narrower worldview. And I think that in fact we probably have a broader worldview because we work so widely throughout the region, not just in Cincinnati, but currently in Middletown, in Springfield, Ohio, in Lawrenceburg, Ohio, and in other communities. But the most important thing I want to say, I think, is that on that topic is we believe strongly that each community has a very distinctive personality. And it is a personality that is certainly shaped by its history, but it drives its future. And part of our job is to help the community uncover that personality. And one of your committee members, when we were here before, indicated a certain wariness about getting your community to engage. It is always challenging to get people to move out of their overcrowded lives. These meetings tend to happen at times when there is no convenient time to have a public meeting. Such a time does not exist. You've got to put the kids to bed or get dinner on the table or get them ready for school. There just is no convenient time. But even within that framework, we have never failed to get a community to tell us what they want their future to be. And the last thing that I think is one of Urban Fast Forward's real strengths is, and I always say, we are planners, and you met John and Casey, who were here with me the last time, and they are professionally trained planners, but our goal is not a plan. A plan is not an outcome. A plan is a report. A plan is a is to lay out that roadmap at the end of our work with you, to put together an implementation chart that says, here's what we can do today, here's what we might have to wait till tomorrow, here's what we're gonna do next week, next month, next year. But always with the idea that plan is not an outcome. We are driving for change. And a plan is simply the outline of how we might get there. And I think that's, Mr. Shadd's remarks, I think that's really important. And I guess the last thing I will say on that is, we love our communities. I watched the video of the meeting the last time and realized that I had done a really dumb thing because I get very excited in talking about communities, and I had referred to at one point as College Hill and not North College Hill, and that is a dopey thing for me to have done.
We're very sensitive about that.
I thought to myself, you goof. But I know that this is North College Hill, not College Hill. I know that North College Hill is not Mount Healthy. I know that Mount Healthy is not North Side. But I know that this whole Hamilton Avenue corridor can have a united and each community should be distinctive because that's how people choose. People will say, well, I want a little bit of small town America. So Mount Healthy's the right place for me. Well, I'm old and I want to live in a retirement home, so I'm going to live in College Hill. Because, man, they've got that take. But everybody chooses based on the personality of the community. And so the job of the plan is to uncover that and build on that and use it to drive the community forward. So that's my commercial.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Ms. DeWald, please proceed.
We have a first reading on Resolution 24, a resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Community Planning Insights for the purpose of facilitating and accomplishing an update to the City of North College Hills Comprehensive Land Use Plan. And there's another.
Yeah, I believe that last sentence did
Yeah,
not
that
belong
should
there.
be gone. I'll take that out. We have a first reading on Resolution 25, 2021, a resolution to certify assessments to the county auditor for placement on the tax duplicate, and this one also is tall grass and trash removal. Tonight, we have a second reading on Resolution 17, 2021, a resolution to certify assessment to the county auditor for placement on the tax duplicate. This is tall grass and trash removal. It has been revised, so if you look at, on that piece of legislation, in the Section 1, the first reading, it had ordinance number on there, and it should have said Resolution 17, so that was the revision on that. We have a first reading on, a second reading, on Ordinance 4, 2021, an ordinance to adopt a new Chapter 1196 of the North College Hill Codified Ordinances, and this is to address matters related to the mobile food vendors. That one is revised also. On that one, you'll see that there was a transposition in the number. The first reading had a Chapter 1169, and it should have said 1196. So throughout that document, you will see where it has been changed. I think you have the one with the strikeouts in it.
Mr. President,
Mr. Mosby.
with that particular ordinance, our code requires that there is a public hearing.
You got strikeouts.
And,
You just copied them.
and during the last council meeting, there was discussion about when the public hearing should occur, but there wasn't any consensus, I guess, on a specific date. And so I would recommend to council as part of this process, because it's supposed to be a public hearing that's held within 30 days of the third reading, according to the code. And it doesn't say whether or not that 30 days has to be prior or following. I think I shared that, and that with an ordinance like this, it does not take effect immediately. It has to wait 30 days before its implementation. And so that would also be within that 30 days to allow the public to provide input. But I would want to encourage council today, if there could be agreement on a public hearing date. Also keep in mind that the date that is set, we have to give 30 days notice as well. So if there was a date, then let's say that in the beginning of September, let's say, September the 5th, I would have to get the notification out basically as soon as possible so that we would be able to meet the 30 days prior to the actual public hearing.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
I have a question for Mr. Mosby. Can the public hearing occur during a council meeting?
I believe it can. It just has to be a public hearing.
Okay, Mr. President, can I just suggest that we have the public hearing on September 7th? That would give us the 30 days to provide the necessary notice, and that is our next scheduled council meeting.
Mr. President,
Madam Mayor.
I know in the past we've had it like before the meeting started, so they sort of changed the time or came 6:45, 6:50. I don't know if that, I don't recall ever having one during a meeting.
Okay.
Either before or right after the meeting, but that means you would have to, do those have to start on time, the public meeting? I think
It can start after, it just cannot start prior to whatever the scheduled time it is.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson.
is everybody okay with scheduling the public hearing for September 7th at 6:45?
Mr. President,
Ms. Blythe?
what day of the week is that?
Tuesday, it's our council meeting for September.
It's
The
a
day after
Tuesday?
Labor Day.
Okay.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson.
if nobody has any objections, do we just want to schedule it for then?
Mr. President, I think that's Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
I think that it's a good idea that we schedule it on September 7th at either 6:30 or 6:45.
Do we need a motion for that? I'm sorry.
I mean,
Yeah,
if
we
you
just
have
need to,
agreement, there's
we
no
just need to
objection, I
discuss
can
it
go
and it
ahead.
needs to be posted, correct?
It does need to be published, so I just need to confirm what time you all want to begin.
What, Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
how long does how long do those kinds of meetings normally take?
It depends. For example, we did have a public hearing, some of you may remember, for the tax budget. Nobody appeared, and it was not even more than 5 minutes. Other times, they could be more controversial. I don't perceive this particular change to be controversial. I consider it to be beneficial. However, you don't know you don't know who may come out either in support of or against. Although I'll be honest, I haven't heard anybody who opposes this. In fact, honestly, most of the people that I've heard have said, yes, we need it.
Okay. So maybe 6:45?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Done.
Thank you.
Just to clarify, we have that for September 7th at 6:45.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I just buried my agenda.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay, we have a third reading on Ordinance 3, 2021, an ordinance adopting the first supplemental appropriation for the operating budget for the calendar year 2021 for the city of North College Hill.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
I move that we adopt ordinance 3-2021.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson?
I'll second that motion.
Motion from Ms. Underwood, second by Ms. Anderson, to adopt ordinance 3/2021 for the operating budget for 2021. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
One moment, please.
Yes, ma'am.
That was Miss Anderson.
Ms.
Second?
Underwood and
Ms.
Ms.
Underwood,
Anderson, second.
okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Dukestein,
Yes.
Ms. Blythe,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood,
Yes.
Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Motion to adopt passes 4-0.
Thank you.
We have a third reading on Resolution 22, a resolution to authorize the city administrator to enter into an agreement with Playground Equipment Services to replace the playground equipment at Dimley Park.
Mr. President,
Mr. Mosby.
just as a way of background, we did hold a bid opening. We only received, of course, the one bid, which was Playground Equipment Services. This is in line with the grant money that we are to receive. This is on a reimbursement basis. So that means that we have to expend the money first and then we will be reimbursed. If approved tonight, the pre-construction meeting will be held on Wednesday, so they're ready to get started. Just
Mr.
wanted to
President.
make sure everybody knows.
Ms. Underwood.
I am very excited to move to adopt Resolution 22-2021.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson.
I'm even more excited to second that motion.
Not to be out.
Yeah.
It's a competition.
And I'm excited to write this down. Bear with me. Motion for Ms. Underwood, second by Ms. Anderson, to adopt Resolution 22-2021, to authorize Mr. Mosby to enter an agreement with Playground Equipment Services to replace the playground equipment in Doomley Park. Discussion?
Yes, Mr. President.
Ms. Dukes-Dean.
Just out of curiosity, did we already identify the playground equipment that we're gonna get in place of what we have?
Yes, in the proposal there is, they have actually, in the proposal there are like two groups. So there's a playground equipment set for like the 2 to 5 year olds, and then for 5 to 12 year olds in another set. And that also includes, by the way, it's not just the installation of the new equipment, it's also the installation of the surface and the removal of the existing playground equipment. And I think, Ms. Underwood, I definitely appreciate what you were saying. I think if some of you have been over there, you recognize that equipment is not only old, but now it's not safe, because some of it is literally coming apart at its joints, and it can be a hazard to many of the children.
All right, Ms. DeWald, please call the roll.
Ms. Dukestein,
Yes.
Ms. Blythe,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood,
Yes.
Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Excellent, thank you. All right, that brings us to further remarks from the audience. Mr. Shad, if you had anything else you wanted to add?
No, sir.
Thank you.
I think we said enough.
All right, old business. So we do have one item on the agenda of old business, and you were given the latest committee assignments report. We do still have an opening in the OKI for the OKI liaison, and an opening for the RETA delegate.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson.
can you just reiterate what time and places those meet?
I cannot.
OKI meets on, I believe it's the second or third Thursday of the month, but it meets at 10:30 in the morning.
And, sorry, Mr. President,
Yes, ma'am.
that's not virtual, right? That's in person?
No, that's right. They meet downtown and at the OKI building. I will say, and if someone, can make it, that would be, I think it would be important. OKI, just to let you all know, has endorsed our transit center project, so I think that for us, it would be important to be able to have someone who would be able to endorse and advocate for that, while they're down there, if at all possible.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson first.
Sorry, I was just gonna ask if you know when the RETA meets. Or because we need a RETA delegate as well.
I do not. That's for their annual meeting. I don't have that.
If it's just like a random time, I'll take it. As long as it's not like during the day.
You might
I
want to
think-
check with Mary Jo, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, because she's the alternate right now. She might have that information.
Okay, I'll double check with her and then let you know by the next meeting. Does that work?
Okay, yes.
Alright, cool.
Mr.
Thank you.
President,
Yes, Ms. Nichols?
I would also, I did have a conversation with Ms. Dukes Jeans. Were you also interested still in CIC as well?
Mm-hmm. I wrote down the next meeting.
Okay, so if she would like to be on there, you can add her there as well.
Hmm?
I believe Ms. Underwood.
Oh, yes, Ms. Underwood. Thank you. I forgot.
oh, that's okay. I was going to ask about the OKI meetings. I was just going to point out the obvious, that, we're not trying to not volunteer. It just occurs during the day. And while I can commit to going to some of the meetings, during, at the, my business where I actually am able to, that provides me the ability to eat and turn on the lights at my home. I am, sometimes required to be in court during the day, and there may be conflicts, so that's my only reluctance, but, I'm still kind of considering that, because I think perhaps I'm the most flexible, but I just need to kind of figure out whether that's going to be feasible or not.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson?
if I can take the summer months, I mean, because I only work during the school year, so I can take the summer months if that's gonna help you. But I don't know if we're allowed to do that, if we're allowed to like have one person as the main person and then have another alternate. Is that an allowed sort of thing?
Well, I don't want to try to answer that right now. I know that when I served on council, I did serve as a representative, but I don't want to say that, that you cannot. I'd have to check with either Mr. Policinski or Mr. Kaler, and
Would you mind checking?
sure,
Okay, thank you.
sure, I can do
appreciate
that.
Thank you, Mr. Mosby.
Mr. President,
Ms. Dukestein?
I'm sorry. What's the acronym OKI stand for?
it.
The Ohio,
Ohio,
Kentucky,
Kentucky,
Indiana
Indiana.
Regional Council of Governments.
All right, any other old business?
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
I was just wondering if we ever received a job description for the Recreation Director.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson?
you did, and I'm so sorry. That was on the agenda for last month's meeting, and I felt like the comprehensive plan was just more urgent. So we'll discuss that at next month's, at this upcoming meeting, next
Fair
week. I promise.
Thank you. Any other old business? Hearing none, move to new business.
Mr. President?
Ms. Anderson?
So, mine's kind of a two-parter. So, I live back by Stapleton Park, and I, as well as other people, have put in work request for gravel to be put into the park because it's super low. Like, it's just gone down over the years, or the gravel spread. So, I mean, the slide's like a solid 3 feet from the ground. Like,
Wow.
if a kid drops, they're dropping. So, since we were talking about safety for Doomley Park, I think it's just as important that Stapleton Park is also safe. So my two-part question is, one, Because I know that I've put in a work request on the website. So where do those work requests go? And then two, is it possible, because I know that, there are issues with getting improvements for that park since it's in a floodplain. Is it possible to just get gravel put in there?
So the answer to the first question is, the online submissions do go to Public Works. That would be the process, and then they would take the steps to address the issue. I don't think I was made aware of this one originally, so I do need to investigate that to see, and I don't know how much, honestly, just off the top of my head, I wouldn't know how much gravel we would need for that.
Right.
Mr. President,
Ms. Nichols?
just as a suggestion, from someone who's taken their kids back there when they were younger, I would not suggest gravel. I would think maybe if we could find something else.
Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't mean gravel specifically. Whatever filler would go in the ground.
I believe it's currently wood chips, right?
We're currently wood chips, yeah.
I've seen hornets with nests and those wood chips. I've seen everywhere. So I don't know what the happy medium would be, but I know if you fall on gravel as a kid and jumping off a swing, your knee.
Right.
So whatever.
Like, I just don't even know if we can do any improvements there because it's in the floodplain. So I don't know if we could put anything like newer than wood chips. You know what I mean?
Rubber. The rubber.
Yeah, the rubber is
Rubber.
really good.
But would we be allowed to like make that upgrade? Would that be considered an upgrade?
We could do anything we want. The question the question is, what money? So when you're talking about that being in the floodplain, we did, as you, I think, are alluding to, we applied for money, for
Right,
grant
that's
money
right,
for that,
right.
but we were not eligible for it because it's in a floodplain. But if we had our own money in the budget, we could do whatever we want to that park.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
can we just ask you, Mr. Mosby, to look at that playground equipment and figure out, or have someone go and look at the park and figure out how much it would cost to address the safety concerns? I just wouldn't want anybody
I agree.
to go out there and, they're playing on the swings or the slides or whatever and get hurt if it's an easy fix for us. We don't know.
Right.
We're not talking about replacing the playground equipment. We're just talking about fixing it so that, nobody gets hurt. So can we just check to see how much that would cost for us?
Could probably get a couple of estimates, sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other new business?
Oh, yes, Mr. President. I'm sorry. At least I would like to end on a positive note. Two things. I think one I failed to mention probably a month ago, but we did receive our rebate from Hamilton County Waste and Recycling. The good news is that our participation rate increased from 7% to 8%. So we have made an increase, and that was, and I must say, that was before we had our new contract with Rumpke, where everyone was receiving the green rollaway containers. So I'm anticipating, of course, keeping my fingers crossed, that when we see the participation rate in 2022, that it would be higher. Our goal should be to get at least to 10%. That would be optimal. That would be ideal. But also, that means that our rebate check basically was higher this year than it was the previous year. So that was good news. And then finally, I just got the word just today that we got our report for our electric vehicle charging stations. So we were up in usage 30% from the previous quarter, which is great. Now, I don't know, that might be a tough hill to climb for the next quarter because The challenge is that
What are
when
we
they,
doing?
while they put in the additional chargers, they had to power down, and it has not been, they haven't been powered up yet. So unfortunately, we've lost some time, a couple of weeks. And one of the reasons that we did was because when they were going to do it, they inspected the pole and found that there was a hornet's nest on there. So they had to remove that before they could come in and actually power up the stations again. But they should be done by this week, by the end of this week. And so if that occurs, then we obviously want to be able to draw as much attention to our EV charging stations as possible. But we will then have 6 online. So I'm hoping that will yield some very positive results for us.
Thank you, Mr. Mosby.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
I would like to, when Mr. Mosby used the word recycling, it reminded me of something. I have a question for you about, so I met a citizen, Ms. McDaniel, I believe her name is, lives on Clover Knoll, says that she would participate in the recycling program if she could have a smaller bin. So she has her trash bin is not the big brown bin, but it's about half the size of the great big brown bins. And so she says that she would be interested in having a recycle bin that's about, still the rolling kind, but half the size of the normal huge green bin. She says that they are available from Rumpke, but Rumpke has said that as a part of our contract, the smaller bins are not included. So I would ask you if you could check to see, what would be involved in perhaps getting just a few of those smaller bins for those of our citizens who would be willing to participate, but, want a smaller version of that green bin.
Okay, I know that that Rumpke has 2 bins, as you pointed out, the green rollaway, and then many people already had the smaller red containers.
No, not that one.
There are 2 different size green rollways.
Yes, it's a green rollaway, but it's not as big as the ones
Yeah, I
that
think you're talking, it's like a
everyone have.
37-gallon, I believe.
I think it's the exact same size as the smaller brown one.
Right.
She's a senior citizen, so I think she has problems with the bigger Rumpke bin. I was with her canvassing when she talked with her. Yes.
And I told her that I would be very tenacious about checking to see,
There's no doubt about that.
so if we
So,
could
I mean,
just-
does she have perhaps you can give me her contact information afterwards?
I can give you her contact information, actually, and the point is that she doesn't recycle because the bin is too big. But she said she would be happy to recycle if she could have the smaller bin. And if she feels that way, there's probably a minimum of 50 other people who feel the same way. They just don't want the bigger green bin. And she says she has reached out to Rumpke, so the smaller bins are available. It's just that they told her it's not a part of our contract. So I'm just curious to see what would be involved in getting some of those smaller rollaway bins for some, people like Ms. McDaniel.
Okay.
That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you. Last call for new business.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson,
I'll move to adjourn.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
I'll second.
Motion to adjourn by Ms. Anderson, seconded by Ms. Underwood. Please call the roll.
Ms. Jukestein,
Yes.
Ms. Blythe,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood,
Yes.
Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn passes 4-0.
Thank you, everyone. This meeting is adjourned.